Good morning, it's today again. Welcome back to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph and I store 20% of my income in the form of rare coins and precious metals. And today I want to talk about something that I believe most stackers completely overlook, not because they don't care, but because they've never actually thought about it this way. Congratulations to Maestro Metals for getting to my comment section first in my last video. Thank you so much for the support. Y'all go find him down below to start a conversation. Most people think that if they just stack long enough, everything will take care of itself. But that's not true. If you don't build this the right way, your stack doesn't become a legacy, it becomes a liquidation. Let that sink in, because these are two completely different outcomes. One builds your family forward, and the other erases everything you spent years or decades trying to build. Most of the conversation in precious metals revolve around two things. What should I buy and when should I buy it? And those are good questions at the beginning. But the longer you stay in this, the more you start to realize something. Those questions start to matter less and less. If you zoom out far enough, you'll start to see the bigger picture. Let me ask you something. If your goal is to pass this down to your children, does it really matter if you bought silver at one price versus $1 higher? Does it really change anything 20 to 30 or 50 years from now? Not really. Now, take it a step further. Does it really matter if you bought generic rounds or sovereign bullion? Maybe a little bit more. There are differences, recognizability and liquidity matters, but even then, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter as much as people think. So, if those things don't matter as much as we've been told, what does? What matters is structure. What actually matters is clarity. What actually matters is education. Because one day someone else is going to be opening your safe, and at that moment, everything you've built is going to be judged based on what they understand. And there are two possible reactions when that day comes. The difference between them is everything. In the first scenario, when your children open your safe, they'll look inside and they might say, "I have no idea what any of this is." In that moment, confusion sets in. Uncertainty sets in, and eventually that confusion turns into action. They take it somewhere, they sell it, they accept whatever they tell them, and your entire stack becomes one transaction. Or the second scenario, your children open your safe, and instead they think something like, "Wow, I didn't realize they had that many American Silver Eagles." This is a completely different reaction. It's not confusion, that's recognition, that's understanding, and that's respect. And that difference did not come from what you bought. It came from what you taught. Let's make this even more real. Imagine your children find a small group of clad Eisenhower dollars that you had set way back in the safe just as something fun. Now, what they don't understand is that those aren't a bulk part of your stack. If they don't understand what they are, they might look at these and think, "Wow, these are old, I kind of recognize them, these might be worth a lot." So they'll take them to the coin shop and they'll be hopeful, they'll be excited, and then when they're told these are pretty much worth their face value, they're about $1 each. So what happens now? They leave the coin shop disappointed, they feel misled, and maybe they start to question everything else in your stack. But imagine the difference in that same moment when instead they already know these aren't here for value, these are just something he liked. He built this because he enjoyed large coins, or whatever it might have been, the reason you have those set aside as a part of your collection. And now these coins have a little bit of a meaning, and that meaning changes everything. It doesn't lead to disappointment or lost hope, it shows your connection to your collection. And that's a difference between passing down just metal and passing down the understanding. For me, this is personal because I didn't grow up with this knowledge. Nobody taught me how money worked. Nobody taught me how to budget. Nobody taught me how to save. I learned it all the hard way. And that path led me through some very difficult places. It wasn't until I found Christ and I started reading the Bible that everything changed for me. That's where I found structure, that's where I found discipline, and that's where I found a purpose. Joseph in the book of Genesis stored during the years of plenty, and that principle changed and reshaped my life forever. That's why I store 20% of my income. Not because it's something I've seen someone else do, not because I saw it on the internet, but because I truly believe in it. I was led down this path. And now this is no longer about me. This is about my children and their children. The Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. That's not just wealth, that's responsibility. That's stewardship. It's intentionality over generations. And here's the truth that most people don't want to hear. If you only pass down the metal, you failed. Because metal without knowledge does not survive generations. It gets sold, it gets misunderstood, and it gets undervalued. Eventually, it just disappears. At a certain point, stacking stops being about accumulation and it becomes about stewardship. You start asking different questions, not how much can I get, but how will this be understood? Instead of what's the best deal today, it'll be will someone else know what this is? Not what's the premium of this coin, but what will that premium mean to someone else? So what do we actually do? How do we build this the right way? One, you have to organize your stack, not just physically, but mentally. Know what you have, know why you have it, and know where it fits in your plan. Because if you don't understand your stack clearly, no one else ever will. Two, simplify where needed. This doesn't mean that you can't collect the things you enjoy, but it does mean that you should be intentional. Ask yourself, would someone else recognize this? Would they know where and how to sell it? If the answer is no, then you need to pair it with an explanation. Three is teach as you go, and this is the most important part. If your kids are young, bring them with you. Let them see it. Let them hold it. Let them choose something small. If they're older, then talk to them. Explain your decisions. Share your reasoning. Maybe give them a gift of a coin so that they start to understand. Show them what gold is. Show them what silver is. Show them why you choose it, what premiums are, and why prices move. Because if you don't teach them, someone else will, and they won't always care about the outcome. Four is write it down. If something happened to you tomorrow, would someone else know what you own, where it is, what it's worth, or how to sell it? If the answer is no, then you don't have a system yet. And systems are what survive. Because confusion is what creates loss. At the highest level, you stop thinking in years and you start thinking in generations. Gold has outlived empires and silver has moved through entire monetary systems. Your lifetime is a very small piece of that story. So the real question becomes, will what you build today carry forward or fall apart? One day, someone else is going to be opening your safe. They're going to be looking at everything you've built, everything you've saved, and everything you've sacrificed for. And in that moment, they're going to make a decision. Not based on price, not based on charts or based on timing, or even based on what you wanted, but based on what they understand. So the question is simple. What will they feel? Confusion or clarity? Every morning you wake up, you have a choice. You can focus on the small things, the daily price movements, the perfect entry points, or you can step back and build something that actually lasts, something that isn't just about stacking. This is about responsibility. This is about legacy. This is about doing something that outlives you. So be intentional, be disciplined, and build it the right way. If you liked today's video, make sure to go and hit the thumbs up button, go into the comments to start a conversation, and if you know someone that may like this video, please share it with them. Subscribe if you haven't already, but most of all, thank you so much for watching. And just remember, every ounce adds up, so no matter how small, just keep stacking. I just made my own line of coffee. Joseph's Reserves It's Today Again coffee. Most mornings aren't dramatic. They're quiet. You wake up, pour yourself a cup, and now you have a choice. Drift through the day or take hold of what's in front of you. That's really what this whole thing's about. Showing up, building good habits, staying disciplined in the small things. Whether that's stacking consistently, learning something new, or just being faithful with what you've been given. I put these words on every bag to remind myself first. Every morning is a gift. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, today. So take a breath, take a sip, and let's get to work. It's today again. You can now write me at Joseph's Reserves, 10160 Highway 242, Suite 800, number 401 in Conroe, Texas, zip code 77385. Make sure to include your information so I can write you back. I had a comment on one of my videos asking about these capsules. They specifically were curious about the 1/10 ounce gold Panda. What's interesting about the 1/10 ounce gold Panda is it is 3 nines gold instead of 4 nines gold. I don't know if that's specifically why there's a difference in size. However, the Panda is actually 18 millimeters instead of 16 like most other 1/10 ounce gold. It is just over 18 millimeters, so sometimes it doesn't fit quite right in the capsules. I don't have an 18 millimeter airtight capsule, but I do have this 19 millimeter that I use for the 10 franc. And once I get it out, I'm going to try fitting it into this 19 millimeter capsule to see how much wiggle room there is. And here it is. So we're going to actually first compare this to the 10 franc and the 1/10 ounce gold Panda. We're going to put them right on top of each other so we can see what the real difference in size there is. And as you can see, the 10 franc is quite a lot bigger, so I imagine there's going to be a little bit of wiggle room inside this 19 millimeter capsule for this 1/10 ounce Panda. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but there is a little bit of a rattle with the lid on, not quite as much. But that's not really how I would prefer to hold my coin anyway. I wouldn't want this much rattle in the case. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out and put it back in where I had it, which is actually a capsule made for a US dime. Those are slightly under 18 millimeters, but I found one that fits it pretty loosely, so I believe it does fit nice and snug for this 1/10 ounce Panda. Once I find a very nice airtight, I'll follow up on this question, but here's what I have it in so far. This is the US dime capsule. Thank you so much for continuing watching. If you'd like to stick around for a few more minutes of me organizing and showing some of the metals that I have here on this desk, please feel free to stay.